Hello, this is Barry Coombs of ComputerWorld and VirtualizedReality.com. Today I'm joined by Atchison Frazer of Xangati. Xangati are a manufacturer of monitoring software. Typically I've seen them in a virtual environment. Over the next 20 minutes, half an hour, we're hopefully going to hear from Atchison to understand a little bit more about Xangati and what makes them stand out from the competition. So over to you, Atchison. Why don't you give us kind of an introduction to Xangati?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I think we've evolved quite a bit from the monitoring vernacular, and we're now using a terminology which I hope will resonate with your British audience, called Service Assurance Analytics and Infrastructure Management Platform. And what we mean by that is we're not only doing the monitoring of everything that's in your virtual infrastructure as well as the underpinning physical assets, but we're also analyzing the potential contention issues between the conventional silos, whether it's storage, networking, server. We're looking at interactions between applications and virtual machines. We're doing all that end-to-end in real-time, live, continuous, no use of agents or probes. And so you're getting a real-time, live health status snapshot of the enterprise, and that's hundreds of thousands of interactions that we are collating and correlating. But while we're doing that, we're also giving you a predictive analysis capability with a utility we call Storm Tracker. What Storm Tracker does is it actually will cluster together based on our own heuristics, best practices, and proprietary algorithms that are patent protected. Will help you avoid storm contentions or degradation of performance by analyzing those interactions. The first thing the Xangati virtual appliance does when it drops into your hypervisor of choice, it actually discovers all of the assets, virtual and physical, and maps those interdependencies. So it's a bit of like a data a fabric. If you think of switch technology, it's a bit of a fabric kind of concept, and we are able to cluster together alerts into one Uber storm, and the Storm Tracker utility will help you solve that, the main alert, and save you a lot of time by not having to chase the other 27 that may underlie it.
Brilliant. So it's giving you that kind of root cause analysis. So you might think this is your problem, this is a thing that's attacking you in the face, but actually it's caused by this problem that's happening all the way back in the infrastructure.
Well, root cause analysis is extremely important, particularly in hyper-converged environments, particularly when you start to have hybrid cloud environments. Quite frankly, if you're not doing a live monitoring as Xangati does, most of our competitors require agents, and they're giving you an interval snapshot. It's averaged out data, maybe every 15 minutes. Very, very difficult to pinpoint finely grained root cause of a point of degradation or a storm contention. In fact, our nearest competitor, we're about 300 times. We provide 300 times the granularity of our nearest competitor.
Fantastic. So as you say, rather than using the agents, I believe looking at it in the past, you look at the switching layer as quite a key component to what's going on. Is that still the case?
Absolutely. So how we're collecting the data is we're actually, in the case of the hypervisor, we're talking to the APIs. And so whatever's available within the APIs, we're pulling that data. But then all of the other elements or components of the infrastructure, like networking. In the case of a Cisco estate, we're pulling the NetFlow data that's available through the NetFlow protocol. If Citrix NetScaler is in the environment, which is fairly common if you have a web server virtual infrastructure, we're pulling the AppFlow data from that protocol. The same is true with storage. If you have NetApp in your environment, very, very deep insights with all the popular storage protocols. At the application level, we're pulling the WMI protocol, so we can actually see the health of the application. We can give you some sense of interactions between applications and other potential bottlenecks in the virtual. In virtual desktop infrastructure in particular, And in the virtual desktop infrastructure environment, if it's Horizon from VMware or Citrix XenApp Zen Desktop, then we're helping you optimize that application to ensure that that's where the service assurance really comes into play. Is, it's all about the end user experience. So we're very concerned. Unlike traditional monitoring, you might be looking at on, off, hot, cold kinds of things. We're very concerned with the quality of experience of the end user, even looking at how well the endpoint is handling that virtual application.
Okay, so in terms of your users, the people that are using your platform, what is their typical environments? Is it small to large enterprise? Is it physical as well as virtual? Is it end user computing as well as servers? What does that look like?
So we do serve a lot of SMEs, particularly in the legal vertical, healthcare. But for the most part, because of the complexity of the environment, when you start to get above 500 virtual desktops or VMs, it's a fairly complex and unwieldy environment. Again, if you're monitoring all of the conventional silos in a disaggregate format, it's going to take you a lot of time. Xangati is going to save you that amount of time by giving you cross silo intelligence, but we're unique in the marketplace in that sense, we've been out there for about 3 years, mostly large enterprise, blue chip, billboard customers, and very large public sector. Okay. Where you find, because of cost savings, because of control, because of security concerns, governance and risk, virtual desktop has been embraced. Probably, I'd say healthcare and public sector, where we're in monitoring the virtual desktop infrastructure. Those are probably our two largest vertical markets, if you will. And again, they're very, very large-scale deployments. In the United States, we have one of our customers is the largest public school district in the U.S. Very large blue-chip financial enterprises. The Department of Public Health in the UK is a customer. So, for whatever reason, we solve the most difficult, most complex issues, and those tend to be, as I said, in a more complex environment, whether it's converged, hybrid cloud, or just simply the volume of virtual machines that have to be managed, or virtual desktops that have to be managed.
Okay. From my perspective, when you're ever getting any kind of platform that is offering assurances or checking the quality of a VDI infrastructure, a desktop infrastructure, the two most important things to me are user experience, making sure that we're able to monitor or understand not just the fact that my latency might be going up. Who cares if the users are still happy? At the end of the day, I want to know, are my users happy? And second of all, I want a platform that's going to be proactive as well as reactive, but more so proactive. I want to get there before the problems occurs. How does your platform meet those two requirements?
So in the first instance, in terms of the quality of the end user experience, very, very well. In fact, you can use the Xangati dashboard to isolate individual end users or work groups that you, as the virtual infrastructure admin, might be responsible for. And again, if you suspect you have a degradation issue, you can pinpoint that specific user. Actually, even see all of the apps that are running on there, whether those are supposed to be running or not. Okay. And so we have some pretty good case studies where we've solved some seemingly very difficult problems to solve just simply by looking a little deeper into the end users' habits and behavior, quite frankly, which often conflict with the corporate policy. Sure. In the other respect, we do a very good job of analyzing the root cause. So if you're in triage, you've got a triage situation, which I'm a networking guy coming from Cisco and Fortinet network security. I have 10 years of, battle scars of, a finger pointing at the networking folks. But quite frankly, we see a lot of storage related, whether it's IOPS or latency or just no visibility, quite frankly. And so our ability to triage and actually prove that it's not XenApp or XenDust. I mean, Citrix is an investor in the company, so we get a fair amount of feedback from them, which is good. But a lot of their folks, they're sales engineers in the field, they're professional service consultants that recommend us. One of the things they really like is we're able to prove often, more often than not, it's not a XenApp or XenDesktop issue. It may be some underlying infrastructure. The architecture of the virtual infrastructure was not provisioned correctly. So, when you have a severe problem and you can't figure it out, or you don't want to spend 5, 6, 7 days, human man hours going through each virtual machine or each desktop, then Xangati is going to be your best friend. Then going forward, what we do again, by the way, because we don't use agents, the Xangati dashboard, day 2, it's operating.
Okay.
So your time to value is pretty significant. You've got a triage. I mean, we're really the only game in town because everybody else is going to make you wait 30 to 45 days before the agents start to actually do a little tango dance and help you figure out what's going on. So that's number one. But number two, after running in your environment for a while, Xangati gets very, very smart about how to help you long-term resolve issues, whether it's capacity. We recently added an efficiency index. So we can, sort of two sides of the same coin, but we can tell you whether you're, again, feedback we get is a lot of customers, maybe they just buy more storage or they buy more hardware and they really have no idea whether they need it or not. But, their sense is they need a buffer just in case, things slow down when they virtualize or go hybrid cloud.
So from that perspective, it's able to help you proactive, reactive. You're able to understand the user experience from some examples. You said that you're able to see which applications are running inside the desktop.
Yes,
as I understand
absolutely.
that. How's that achieved without the agent inside the desktop? Because that sounds quite a unique functionality.
Through the WMI protocol.
Okay, great.
As well as the server protocol, whether it's Linux or Microsoft.
Fantastic. And are you able to pull back analytics for the HDX and PC over IP protocols on top of that? Or?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So in the Horizon camp, we're analyzing data through PCOIP, and if it's a Citrix environment, we're doing the same with HDX. You can run Xangati. Probably something new to your audience is that we did add XenServer support.
Okay.
So if you're a Citrix environment, you can run Xangati in XenServer and still monitor ESX if you're still running some virtual apps on top of that.
Okay.
We also we support Hyper-V as well from a monitoring standpoint. In a future release, you'll be able to run Xangati within Hyper-V as a guest VM, just like you do in the other hypervisors.
And I'm correct in saying it's deployed as a virtual appliance, so the actual deployment of it is very simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
To roll out.
Yeah, it's OVF standard. We've got performance management experts who can help get it deployed within hours, literally. And again, we let it run. We have a 14-day free trial, but if you let it run for a week, and then have one of our performance management experts come in and we offer a free hour of consultative data auditing, if you will, just to kind of help the end user or channel partner understand exactly what they're seeing, because there's a lot of data.
Sure.
And Xangati can help you connect the dots, if you will, to help you understand exactly what's going on in your environment a little bit. A lot of our customers come to us, they just simply say, we just lack visibility. We're using the vCenter tools, or we're using, vRealize stroke vCenter ops, but we think we've got a storage issue, but we don't have much visibility in storage. So again, that cross silo traditional blame game finger pointing. This is a silo buster.
Yeah.
And I can tell you again, I supported the 200 largest networks in the world at Cisco, and often we didn't even know who the storage folks were or the application architects. So if you think of ITO operations and you think of DevOps, where that whole thing is going, someone has to be responsible, and someone has to have sort of in a sense, a trusted single source of truth to the performance of your infrastructure. We believe that, again, we don't offer a hypervisor. We're hypervisor agnostic. We will be supporting AWS if that's in your environment.
Okay.
We're looking at, Docker and containers, quite frankly, is interesting to us. We're starting to see that adopted in the enterprise beyond service providers. So if there is a way of analyzing and adding value to better performance of your virtual infrastructure, then Xangati is there to be your partner.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, we recently had VMworld in the US. I believe you guys were exhibiting there, and you had some announcements. Do you want to summarize those for me?
Yeah, so what we announced at VMworld was we're adding vSAN support, in particular the VMware implementation of that. Again, I think VMware itself claims 2,000 customers that are running their variety of vSAN. We've had two of our largest customers ask us to support that. So again, in the main dashboard, when you go in and you're looking at data stores, for example, you're now going to be able to see any attributes that are relevant to vSAN. And again, we're going to be crunching that data in real time and comparing it to all the other data points that we collect, and then analyzing that, and then overlaying that with the Storm Tracker utility. So again, if you're concerned about any kind of degradation by adopting vSAN, then Xangati can help you streamline that deployment and implementation.
And I think with any software-defined storage or hyperconverged platform, whereas in the past we may have had a centralized SAN, fiber channel, iSCSI, and you have one connection to it, but you have centralized storage, and then you have your host connecting to it. The network is very important, but then when you start distributing that storage across multiple elements, and they need to be talking together as if they were one, you need to know that gel between those nodes is seamless, that you're not getting any form of latency, because you've gone from having a problem between this host and that storage to having a problem between this host and all of these different hosts that are then trying to do something together. So I think the supporting the vSAN technologies and other platforms like that in the future is probably a really important aspect for you guys.
Well, and the thing is, pulling data off a disk or an external database is extremely slow, and it causes latency. So I think the reason a lot of customers don't want to, maybe they don't want to handle as much hardware anymore, so they're adopting vSAN. But the thing is, you need to be able to scale, and there's so many apps that are being written and spawned and put out, and I think this is what's driving the DevOps, if you want to call it a revolution or evolution. But there's a need for agility, and almost like a liquid asset to be able to provision an app very quickly, ensure that it's going to be operational. And someone's going to need to look after how well those applications are performing. What drain on the infrastructure and other assets that are available. The thing with Xangati is, again, because we don't use the agents, it's an in-memory architecture. We can scale to hundreds of thousands of interactions, hundreds of thousands of objects that, if you drop something into the environment, it's extensible. You don't have to reboot, load up more agents, wait for the agents, to churn for another 30 days. It's it's very flexible, very elastic in that sense. So I think the vSAN support is going to be good for us. As I said, we have a deeper visibility into NetApp environments. We're adding the same capability for EMC in a future release. So again, wherever we can pull data that's meaningful, that gives you more insights, more meaningful. I mean, just traditional monitoring and having a lot of data is helpful, but it's not necessarily meaningful. We kind of go up the compendium a bit. We go from data to information to actual intelligence. And again, if you're in a triage situation, you need to resolve a problem very, very quickly, then you're going to want to have a solution that is really focused on prevention, mm-hmm. as opposed to just sort of retrospective, averaged out data that is really just kind of baseline data.
Fantastic. So it sounds like we've got lots of good bits coming together. It's a platform that's easy to deploy, based on a virtual appliance, supporting all the major hypervisors, works in a different way to everyone else. You're not having to rely on agents. That gives you quicker time to value. You've got the storm tracker capability.
Yes.
So you're getting the ability to get to the root cause of the problem quickly, and then be able to stop it happening in the future by understanding that data and digging into that
very
data.
Much so, yes.
And you're keeping on changing the platform and supporting the latest technologies, the software defined with the vSAN, potentially in the future, things like AWS and things like that. So it sounds quite an exciting, independent technology that allows you to give you a unique view.
I mean, if you think about it, you think of the network as the computer concept. For us, it's the protocol as the computer. The more protocols and APIs that we add, for example, you mentioned software-defined storage. Well, software-defined networking is another interesting trend. Mm-hmm. You think of the complexity of the network infrastructure today, and again, if it's Cisco, we'll talk to NetFlow, or if it's Juniper or someone else, it may be iFlow or SFlow, whatever it is. But the more protocols we add, and the more basically data feeds we code into the platform, the more compelling the value proposition is. Because again, the in-memory architecture is going to be able to scale. Your time to value is going to be excellent. And at the end of the day, the real value is we're going to help that end user experience, the quality of experience, where you can even as a service provider, you can go in and say, look, I'm going to guarantee, in the case of healthcare, for example, do you know how many seconds it takes to log in and reconnect every time? And if you're a healthcare professional and you need to get to that virtual app, and by the way, you're roaming around that institution on 10 different devices, Xangati actually can give you that level of granularity where now all of a sudden you can build an SLA around that data and prove that you beat it, and have a very profitable services business that you can build around our platform.
Fantastic. So all the people that are watching this, listening, if they want to learn more about Xangati, if they want to engage with you guys, where's the best place for them to find out more information and speak to you guys? Are you going to be at VMworld in Barcelona?
We're considering that one. That one's a little more expensive, believe it or not, than the one in San Francisco, which is our largest investment of the year. But we're active in the VMugs. Okay. We're active. Citrix has now established a user group in the UK. We're going to be sponsoring that. But again, as I say, the best and the easiest way to get started with us is there's no downside to it, because we, putting our virtual appliance in as a guest VM is not going to really impact your environment. And who knows, within 2 weeks, you might find some pretty meaningful data, and we can help you kind of analyze that. So the best way to get started with us is download that free trial and deploy it in your environment. Give us 45 minutes of your time, and we can give you a consultative discovery session of what we think is the value that you're seeing. And, maybe you even have a very difficult problem you haven't been able to solve with the tools that you have. It's a fully operational, fully functional Xangati virtual appliance. So, if you can solve it within 14 days, bully for you, it's on us.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for your time today, especially because you've just jumped off a flight to the UK. So it's very much appreciated.
Likewise.
I look forward to catching up with you soon.
I do too. Thank you, Barry.